Amanda. I want to play a game.
Hey horror freaks, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amanda. As you can see from the title, today's video I'm going to be giving you guys my top 10 stop motion horror films that I believe that you should watch. This list may come off as a little basic, but these ones are my favorites and films that I would recommend to anyone out there that wants to get into stop motion or maybe wants to watch something animated but is also horror. Now before I start, I want to give you guys the official definition of stop motion, and it's that stop motion is an animated filmmaking technique in which objects are physically manipulated in small increments between individually photographed frames so that they will appear to exhibit independent motion or change when the series of frames is played back. Essentially, it's a lot of work. Something that I love to watch is the behind the scenes of stop motion films, because the work that comes to make these films, it's a lot. Years. You could be 3-4 years making a film that it looks short, but it's amazing. So my appreciation comes to every single person that works in this, because it's a lot, but it's worth it. Now, for the sake of the video, I will be talking about these films in chronological order, and I'm going to start with The Sandman. This one is the shortest one. This one is just a 10 minutes film, and it follows in the upstairs in the moonlight and empty room. A little boy is scared of the dancing shadows, encounters a figment of his vivid imagination, the horrible Sandman. This one is actually available here on YouTube in case that you want to watch that. It's very good, creepy as hell, but it's visually stunning. Something that I love in general about stop motion, it's how it's so beautiful. Truly, I love the attention to the details. It's mesmerizing. Once again, this is a lot of work, but it brings so much talent and creativity that is simply amazing. So if you haven't watched this one yet, you can go on YouTube. I will be leaving the link down below in case that you wanna, if you haven't already, because this one, it's a very good one. Although it's short, but it's a good one. Next, it's my ultimate favorite movie in general. And I'm making a disclaimer, this one is not 100% horror. This one is actually a dark fantasy. But dark fantasy is essentially fantasy and horror, and it's The Nightmare Before Christmas. Now, The Nightmare Before Christmas follows the tire of scaring humans every October 31 when the same old bags of tricks, Jack Skellington, the spindly king of Halloween Town, kidnaps Santa Claus and plans to deliver shrunken heads and other ghoulish gifts to children on Christmas morning. But as Christmas approaches, Jack's ragdoll girlfriend Sally tries to foil his misguided plans. Now, this is the film that really got me into stop motion. This was a love at first sight. It's a film that means a lot to me. It's the film that everyone who knows me correlates me to the point that on my birthday, Christmas, or maybe Secret Santa, or any excuse to give a gift, most likely I'm going to get something from The Nightmare Before Christmas. I actually, you cannot, right here I have this crew neck sweater. I don't really know the exact term. This one is from Hot Topic. It's pink. I am not the biggest fan of the color, but I can make the exception because of the film. I own a lot of merch about this film. Even my quinceañero was about The Nightmare Before Christmas. Once again, I fell in love with this film from the very first moment that I saw it. In my mind, I made the correlation of the aesthetic with horror because I watched this one when I was little, and this is the one that really made the spark in me of not only liking stop motion but wanting to watch more horror. Because by this time I had already watched some horror movies, but this one is the one that pushed me over the edge in this rabbit hole that is horror films, and it's my whole life right now. So it means a lot to me. Once again, it's my ultimate favorite movie. I don't know how many times I have rewatched it already. It's perfect to watch either Halloween or Christmas. And a fun fact is that this film has a misconception, and is that it's directed by Henry Selick and not Tim Burton, but it was produced by him and is based on his characters. But for some reason, People is always going to think that it was him just because it's called Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas, when it's actually Henry Selick, the director behind it, and I believe that he deserves the credit. So it's just a fun fact in case that you didn't know. Now, next one that is actually by Tim Burton, and it's Corpse Bride. This one follows when a shy boyfriend practices his marriage vows before the unnoticed presence of a deceased young woman. She rises from the grave assuming that she has been taken as a wife. The amount of people that I know that got scared from watching this film, it's more than you were expecting. And I do understand why, because the reality is that this film has some creepy moments. Once again, it's beautiful, and the story, it's very good. This one, the songs also, they are perfect. And a detail that I have always appreciated about this film, it's how the world of the living is presented versus the world of the dead. On the world of the living, it's surprisingly very gray and very lacking of color and life. Ironically, when we have the world of the dead, that is the total opposite. We have a lot of color. They have like a more cheerful spirit, once again, ironically. And I really like that, how it's Burton making this huge division between the life and the dead, and once again, ironic, but it works perfectly. This next one, I'm making the disclaimer, this one is more fantasy, but it's a parody of horror, so this is why it's included. And it's Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were Rabbit. Now, this one is a parody of classic monsters and also Hammer Productions. They are still in business, but this is for what they were mostly known for. So the film takes that and kind of makes fun a little bit of it, but Wallace and Gromit, I love those two. They are funny as hell, and this is the first film that I ever saw of them, and we are actually having a new film coming this year. I am very excited. This film is amazing, and it follows Wallace and his loyal dog Gromit that are preparing to solve the mystery behind the plague that stalks the orchids of all the neighbors and all that threats to ruin the annual giant vegetable tournament. It's silly as hell, but I loved it. And this one, the way that the puppets are made, they are with clay, and it's a very specific type of clay so that they do not get melted with the lights on set. It's amazing. And also the design, they are very particular with the way that the characters are made. Same way with Tim Burton and his personal style, and the way that his characters are made in his films. Here is the same with these films. Once again, if you have never watched Wallace and Gromit, they are amazing, funny as hell. Maybe not everyone is going to like them, but I do. I think that they are adorable. Silly as hell, but they are adorable. Now next, this one is probably the one that scared the kids the most back in theaters, and it's Coraline. Now Coraline is based on a novel of the same name written by Neil Gaiman, and it follows an adventurous 11-year-old girl that finds another world that is a strangely idealized version of her frustrating home, but that has sinister secrets. Now there's people that do not believe that Coraline is horror, but I do. I definitely do. This film is creepy as hell. The villain is a Beldan, that is a type of witch that eats children. We have very popular tropes that we have seen in horror. We have a family moving to a new house that has a supernatural background. We have parents that they do not believe into what their kids are saying. Those type of things that we have seen a lot in horror. Here it also happens. Once again, this film scared a lot of people. I even own the doll. I love that doll with all my life. I love this film, but once again, I understand why will people get scared of this one. I do. My sister gets scared very easily already. She hates Coraline, specifically because of the Button's eyes. I understand, they are creepy, but in my case, I love this film with all my heart. This one is directed by Henry Selick. There is also the misconception that this one is by Tim Burton, because the marketing, they did it on purpose. The advertisements of the film said, from the director of The Nightmare Before Christmas. And since there was the misconception already that it was Tim Burton, of course people thought that this was from Burton, but not, it was from Henry Selick. There's a lot of difference when it comes to the book all the way to the film, but I understand why they did it, and I am not mad about them because they make the story a little bit more interesting for the film. I am not saying that the book is not. I actually own the graphic novel. And it's interesting to see how these characters were supposed to look, especially Coraline. Of course, she's easy to recognize because of her blue hair and the yellow raincoat. That wasn't how she was supposed to be looking on the book. I understand why they did it. Visually, it looks better, more appealing, and also adds a little bit to her rebel side and her personality. So I am not mad about those changes, but if you ever had the curiosity of reading the book, you should. It's definitely creepy but worth reading, and this one is it's for children. So if you want to get your kid, or maybe some kid in your family, someone that you want to get them into horror but without making that much damage, maybe you should try this one. Maybe they're gonna get traumatized, maybe they're gonna get interest in the genre, who knows. Have you ever tried? Let me know how that works. Next we have ParaNorman. This one is also from the same studio that did Coraline. Now this one follows a misunderstood child that confronts ghosts, zombies, and adults to save his city from a century-old curse. Now I believe that this film is a little bit underrated. I feel that it's left out of many conversations about stop motion horror, but I truly liked it. Like I said, it's from the same studio that did Coraline, so it was a good one. So if you have not watched it already, give it a chance. You're not gonna regret it. Next is another one of my favorites, and it's Frankenweenie. Now this one follows a child that his beloved dog dies suddenly. He tries to bring the animal back to life through a powerful scientific experiment. This is a very cute take on Frankenstein's story. The boy, Victor Frankenstein, he's going to bring back his dog to life with electricity. He even has the things sticking out right here and his parts being sewed back. He's adorable. And what I also like about this film is that it has some hints to other monsters, for example Godzilla. So if you have not watched this one is actually in black and white, which I believe that makes it even better because it adds a little bit to not only the story but also visually. I really like the black and white movies in general. I think that they just have something. I cannot really grab what it is, but I think that they are worth watching. I know that there's a lot of people that they do not like watching films in general in black and white, but I think that there's some beauty in it, especially all the work that they had to do in order to bring the colors in a certain way. For example, the Addams Family show from the 60s, the house is actually pink because that was the color that worked the best with the camera. So when you watch it in black and white, it looks better. So it's a fun detail having to work with bright colors or colors that you would never expected in order for make them look good on black and white. I would really like to see how it will look in color, but at the same time I love how it looks in black and white. It also makes it even more creepy, and since it's Frankenstein, I think that pairs perfectly with a monster that we have been seeing from a long time in the cinema. Next is a pretty recent one, and one that I do believe that is a true masterpiece, and is Mad God. This one was directed by Phil Tippett. He worked in this film for over 30 years. He started working in this back when he was working also in RoboCop. So he is a very talented man. He also worked in Jurassic Park and many other films. He was officially released last year on Shudder. This one is a Shudder original. I did review it. Once again, for me, this one is a masterpiece. One of the best ones of 2022. If you have not watched it and you have Shudder, sit down and do it. Now this one follows a tall figure shrouded in a jacket and gas mask, credited as the assassin, descends into a ruined hellish world via a divine bell. In his possession, the assassin has a map and a suitcase. Traveling throughout the underworld, the assassin encounters many creatures, merciless, preying upon by large monsters. Now this film has no lines. I think that the only words that are said are maybe yes and no at some moments. So a detail that is very important when you're doing that, it's the storytelling. I need to be able to fully understand what is happening without saying a word. And here it happens. Visually is mesmerizing. I remember that I spent the whole film watching it like this. The attention to the details. It's truly amazing. Seriously, I sit down to watch this film expecting it to be boring because I knew that they weren't going to be talking because it was on the description, and I ended up mesmerized by it and truly loving it. So this is a must watch. If you have not watched it, please give it a try. Now you could be thinking, is this the same as Skinamarink? No, because at least here you have something more visually appealing rather than corners and things so dark that you cannot even fully appreciate the shot. So trust me on this one, it's worth watching. Next is Wendell and Wild. This one is a Netflix original and it follows the demon brother Wendell and Wild that plan to escape from hell. And in order to do so, they will have to face their greatest archenemy, a demonic nun, followed by a couple of gothic teenagers. This one, I was expecting it to be a little bit better, but I still enjoyed it. This one came out back in October of 2022, but it's definitely worth watching. The design of the characters are kind of similar to the Book of Life, that if you have not watched that one, it's not horror, but it's so good and beautiful. I really like the story, and it's also kind of funny and enjoyable. But sadly, I never reviewed it, so I cannot tell you to go to another video and hear my full opinion on it. Sorry about that. And I am going to end the video with The House. Now, The House, this one, it's sci-fi, fantasy, adventure, horror. This one has a lot of subgenres into it, but it has horror elements, so just a little disclaimer just in case. And it follows that today a real estate developer tries to make a quick sale of a renovation. Some mysterious and unexpected guests have other plans and become the catalyst for a more personal transformation. I did not watch this one right when it came out. I ended up watching it almost a year later because I was like, you know what? Curiosity killed the cat. I have seen this one being recommended a few times already. I have read the plot and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna sit down and watch it. And I ended up liking it way more than I was expecting. And I did enjoy it. So if you have Netflix and you haven't watched this one, maybe you were thinking about it, you should do it, because it was definitely worth it. And with this, I end the list. I have a longer list on my Letterboxd profile. There aren't that many stop motion horror films, sadly. I truly believe that we should have more. Just making this combination of stop motion with horror, I think that it's perfect. It works very well. All you need is a very good story. And although that is kind of hard to find sometimes these days, it's not impossible. But with this, I end, and I will see you guys on my next video. Bye.
Game over.